Hello and a warm welcome to the news on NTA International at this hour. I am Elizabeth Omori. Now let's take a look at the headlines. All Progressives Congress, APC National Executive Council extends tenure of caretaker committee by 6 months as President Muhammad Buhari urges members on unity. ECOWAS and African Union observers commend peaceful conduct of Ghana presidential election. Plus, National Emergency Management Agency meets stakeholders to review 2020 flood management strategies. Thank you so much for joining us. Leaders and members of the All Progressives Congress, APC, at all levels have been tasked to make the required sacrifices towards ensuring that the party remains a formidable democratic enterprise focused on building a strong, united and prosperous Nigeria. President Muhammad Buhari, who threw the challenge at the opening of the virtual National Executive Committee meeting of the party, said the spirit of negotiation exhibited by members during the merger talks pre-2015 must be recreated towards achieving the objectives. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The virtual meeting of the APC National Executive Committee was convened to review the activities of the Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee in the last 5 months, as well as chart the best way forward. The 13-member committee, headed by Governor Mai Mala Buni of Yobe State, was set up to, amongst others, restore peace in the party, conduct membership registration, organize a national convention, and mobilize the party for upcoming elections.
Most, if not all, the court cases inherited from the last National Working Committee have been terminated. The NEC may also wish to recognize the new entrants and returnees to the party and equally take special note of the return of some of our members who left the party in the build-up to the 2019 elections. To crown it all, His Excellency Dev Umahi, Governor of Ebonyi, has also left PDP and his supporters have joined our party.
President Muhammad Buhari has expressed the conviction that the initiatives made by the Caretaker Committee brought what he called a remarkably new atmosphere of hope in the party.
Despite the challenge to restore peace in the party and the series of elections at hand, the fact that we have gained more members and that we are not losing members to the opposition under the present interim leadership indicates improvement for the party. What is required now is for all of us as leaders of the party to maintain discipline and ensure that this new momentum is protected, sustained, and that decisions of party organs are respected by every member.
President Buhari insists that all party members must have respect for each other as obtained during the merger talks that produced the APC.
Our challenges in the party require that we take steps to rebuild the party from ward to national levels. The initiative to carry out membership registration revalidation is therefore a necessary step. I believe that as leaders, our shared vision is to ensure that we are able to produce leaders that will not inherit any of the problems that led to the decision to dissolve our last National Working Committee. There should be no debate about the fact that we all want to have a united leadership for our party, the APC, at all levels.
Such leaders, he said, must be able to manage big challenges that always come with elections. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
In the same vein, the National Executive Committee of the All Progressives Congress has approved the extension of tenure for the party's Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee for another 6 months. Rising from its virtual meeting held in the State House, the APC NEC also approved the dissolution of party structures at the ward, local government, state and zonal levels. Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai announced this at a media briefing after the meeting. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo once again reports.
Apart from President Muhammadu Buhari, who is the leader of the party, and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, the NEC meeting was also attended by presiding officers of the National Assembly, all the APC governors, and other stakeholders.
We are in very high spirits because we have been winning by elections, and we are winning the heart of Nigerians. And as a political party, the APC is so prepared to continue to work for Nigerians.
Tenure extension for the Mai Mala Buni-led Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee for another 6 months was one of the 5 points resolution adopted at the meeting.
This is in compliance with the stated wish of the President that we should rebuild the party from the bottom up. Registration is going to start very soon, the revalidation of registration and membership registration, because since we undertook our last membership registration in 2015, about 25 million young Nigerians have achieved the age of 18 and may want to join the party. So we want to capture those, and then after we complete the registration, then we'll have Congress sit at these various levels leading up to a national convention before the 30th of June 2021 by the grace of God.
The National Executive Committee also approved the granting of waivers to persons who have recently joined the APC and others desirous of coming on board in the nearest future.
You will agree with me that the APC is growing both in population and in popularity. And the excitement out there for people to join the party, particularly politicians who want to run for one office or the other. So that clause, of course, is what is being cured by the decision of NEC today, that if you join APC, whether you are a member for up to 2 years or not, that you will still have the right to participate and contest the election being sponsored by the party.
On the dissolution of the party organs at the ward, local government, state and zonal levels, the meeting approved the immediate reconstitution and composition of the dissolved executive committee members to serve in their respective offices in a caretaker committee capacity.
The National Executive Committee of the party condemns in very strong terms the call by the PDP leadership and some of their cheerleaders for the resignation of Mr. President. NEC observes that security challenges, though regrettable, can only be addressed when all interests, civil and military, government and opposition, security forces, and indeed every citizen collaborate, irrespective of party affiliations. This is not the time to politicize security.
Meanwhile, the National Executive Committee also approved the expulsion of Ntufam Hilad Etta from the governing party for flouting its directive to discontinue all litigations against the APC and its members. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now to the Ghanaian election, international and local observers have been commending the Ghanaian elections held yesterday, even as the results are being awaited. Musbat Danwahab attended a meeting of the heads of elections observation missions.
Thank you very much for joining us in the studio. Ghanaians are generally waiting for the results of election of December 7, 2020, as they did yesterday vote to elect a new president. But after that, as they await, the heads of observation missions have been meeting to appraise the process of the election. Now, this is necessary to validate the credibility or otherwise of the process. They're talking about the heads of observation missions of ECOWAS, African Union, European Union, and even United Nations and other local observers here have been talking. They just met to make their observation known to the public ahead of the declaration of the results. Here are some bites from the meeting.
On the whole, the ECOWAS Observer Mission felt that the process took place in an orderly, transparent, and professional manner. Secrecy of the ballot was generally observed. Peace prevailed throughout the process, except for the 1 or 2 incidents that I mentioned. And in keeping with the Ghana tradition, we felt that the voting process for the December 8, 20 Ghana election went extremely well.
And as the election was going on yesterday, the observation mission of ECOWAS, led by the former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, met with the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, and she again reiterated commitment to release the results in the next 24 hours.
And each time we asked her, she was very confident in her response that because they had regionalized the process and because they had increased the number of polling stations, ensuring that there was a free flow of voters to get results, she felt extremely confident that she would produce the results in 24 hours from the time the polls are closed.
That's it. So if the promises of the Electoral Commission is anything to go by, the results of the December 7 election will be out in the next few hours.
Thank you so much, Dan Wahab. We look forward to having more updates. And back home, the Senate is considering a bill that seeks to establish a national integrated community development agency. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the bill, which has now passed second reading, is targeted at reducing poverty among rural dwellers in line with the National Economic Empowerment Development.
Plenary took off with the plight of rural dwellers in focus. This is sequel to a bill by Senator Stella Odua for the establishment of a national integrated community development agency.
Rural integration development involves a coordinated program that requires integrating the development challenges that rural people face to help improve their living conditions.
It's about empowering rural dwellers for life and livelihood.
With respect to plurality of so many agencies, but I believe that notwithstanding, it's a very, very critical bill that we need to critically examine.
The bill for the establishment of a unified scheme for a sound financial system that will facilitate and improve credit repayment culture and provide stiffer penalties for defaulters, sponsored by Senator Sani Musa, also passed second reading.
The situation of Nigeria today demands an injection of a healthy bank credit and recovery system that will effectively fasten the pace of growth.
The Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill, sponsored by Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe, the Nigeria French Language Village Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Solomon Adiola, and the Federal University of Education Ampa Kogi State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Jibrin Issa, were among the bills that scaled second reading.
To encourage the advancement of learning in education and to hold out to all persons, irrespective of race, creed, sex, or political conviction, the opportunity of acquiring higher and liberal education.
Senate has confirmed the nomination of Umaru Farouk Aminu as full-time commissioner representing the Northwest in the National Pension Commission. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Into housing, efforts of the federal government at addressing perennial housing problem for civil servants is receiving attention of key players. This followed the groundbreaking ceremony of 90 units housing estate for civil and public servants in Ebonyi State. Kingsley Okoro witnessed the ceremony and filed in this report.
Funded by the Federal Mortgage Bank with the federal government's assistance, is aimed at providing low-cost house of civil and public servants in the state. Some of the beneficiaries thanked the federal government for implementing human-oriented projects to address their plights.
The federal government for initiating it through the Federal Mortgage Bank.
On behalf of TUC Ebonyi State, we are praying as we will see the completion of this project.
NLC, TUC, we wish to appreciate your Excellency and all the people that are involved in bringing this project.
The managing director, Federal Mortgage Bank, who was represented, emphasized that the bank will continue to fulfill its objectives of ensuring that civil servants own a decent and affordable shelter.
When the state indigents that work for federal, state and local government
have done their bit, contributing the 2.5%. You are going to benefit from it. We're going to do housing for you. We're going to do much more in social housing.
This project, when completed, will help in reducing the housing deficiency in our community, Uburu.
Expressing joy that his dream of assisting civil and public servants to own houses is becoming a reality, Governor David Umahi commended President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration, adding that the project will be expanded from 90 to 200 units in Uburu, while another 200 units will be constructed in Iboko for civil and public servants.
It is going to be a catalyst for the development not only of community, the entire Uburu community. We are going to, as government, be committed to paying for some widows.
He tasked the contractor on timely and quality delivery of the project. In Abakaliki, Kingsley Okoro, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. Let's take a break. More reports ahead. To stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Hey beautiful, your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight.
Now reading page 3.
Experience unlimited superfast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
Thanks for staying with us. The federal government has reduced the pump price of fuel by 5 naira following its meeting with organised labour on Monday. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, has confirmed that the reduction would bring down the pump price of premium motor spirit to 162 naira 44 kobo. Ngige further stated that the new price regime would take off from next Monday, 14th of December 2020. It disclosed that the carton price did not represent a discontinuation of the regulation in the industry, as it was not a cut on the price of crude oil, but that a committee would be appraising the market forces and every other thing that would make for stability in the industry, as well as liaising with all the marketers to make sure that the cap is always maintained. The committee would report back to the meeting on the 25th of January 2021. Ngige also noted that the Electricity Committee had made tremendous progress, would continue its activities and would also report back on the 25th of January 2021. President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Ayuba Waba, said that price stability would protect poor Nigerians from the volatility of the oil and gas markets. The second demand, which has to do with the issue of electricity tariff, will have to wait till next year. And still staying with the oil and gas, OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Sanusi Barkindo has identified international dialogue and the principles underpinning multilateralism as the best utensils in overcoming present challenges. While the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the global energy industry formed a large part of the discussions during the OPEC-China dialogue, a broad range of topics with regard to short, medium and long-term prospects of the oil and gas industry also featured. OPEC Secretary General joined via video conference. Lydia Sampson reports.
The enduring bonds of comradeship between OPEC and China have never been better. This is because they heeded the call from one another to promote international dialogue. To this effect, they agreed on the importance of multilateralism and development of the international energy sector, particularly with regard to consideration of climate change and sustainable development. The meeting emphasized the importance of improving energy access and energy affordability. OPEC Secretary General congratulated China and President Xi Jinping for eradicating energy poverty.
The OPEC Secretariat is also developing its own big data platform, which contains easily accessible oil and gas data from multiple sources for the use of OPEC member countries' representatives.
The dialogue also dwelt on significance of technology in addressing greenhouse gases emissions and blue hydrogen. Burkinde urged Chinese environmental specialists to be involved in climate change negotiations to join OPEC technical meetings and high-level dialogue next year. The discussions had highlighted how important sharing data is, vowing to consider concrete steps to improve data sharing between OPEC and China. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Now let's talk climate change. 5 years after Nigeria submitted the nationally determined contribution document on climate change, the country is yet to benefit from the Green Climate Funds of the United Nations as a result of poor articulation of climate impact projects. To overcome this challenge, the ECOWAS Commission is building the capacity of local experts who will lead the nation's efforts at accessing funding for climate change projects. Kelvin Elnwai reports.
The Green Climate Fund is the world's biggest funding organ for climate change mitigation or adaptation projects. Its intervention ranges between $10 million and $250 million, depending on the scope of the project. These funds come handy for countries because of lack of budgetary provisions for climate change activities in many developing countries. For 4 days, these participants, selected from all government and non-governmental organizations working on climate change programs, will be taken through modules that will sharpen their skills in developing successful proposals on projects for international funding.
A new approach has been initiated and conducted that links the training of experts at the national level on the formulation of projects to meet the criteria of the Green Climate Funds and the Adaptation Fund.
Help Nigeria as a national expert to develop project proposals that will meet with the global standards so that Nigeria can begin to address more of the issues that are emerging from the environmental sector.
Nigeria's focal person for climate change at the Federal Ministry of Environment, Halima Bawa Buhari's presentation on the nation's current activity was presented to the forum. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
The United Kingdom has rolled out a vaccination program with the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. When the United Kingdom pronounced its plans to begin the vaccination last week, Nigeria's lawmakers at one of its plenaries stressed the need for the country to do the same. Uche Ugochukwu examines Nigeria's preparedness for this vaccine in view of sustaining its cold chain.
The world, Nigeria not exempted, has been exploring all knowledge in terms of therapeutics and vaccine to tackle the coronavirus pandemic.
One of the worrying patterns we see is some countries moving the other direction. And when there is no consensus on having this vaccine a global public good, it could be actually be owned by those who have money.
Based on recent breakthroughs by major pharmaceutical companies and up to 95% safety of their vaccine trials on human, the UK opted for Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, commencing with 10 million doses in 1 year and 35 million to follow. And the United Kingdom starting mass vaccination 8 December. The Nigeria Senate at 3rd December plenary approved the procurement and rollout of COVID-19 vaccine in the country.
If we are not able to do it in the 2021 appropriation, then we have to prepare for a supplementary appropriation because this is a matter of life and death.
The importance of COVID-19 vaccine, although non-contestable, medical experts are worried about Nigeria's preparedness to sustain the cold chain of -70 to -80 degrees Celsius needed to keep most of the vaccines potent.
But I'm happy that following information coming out, they have gone back to laboratory now, trying to produce the powdered form, which could be sustainable in countries such as ours.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, however, said there are freezers of the required storage capacity at the National Reference Laboratory in Abuja. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Some foreign stories now. UK and EU reach deal on Northern Ireland border checks. Details and more with Uche Ugochukwu on Global Updates.
Still
While in efforts to curtail the COVID-19, Hong Kong has announced new measures to suppress the flow of people amid a fourth wave of COVID-19 in the city, while South Korea and Japan deployed their respective militaries to assist medical staff and help with contact tracing. In the meantime, the world infections tally has crossed 68 million, as collated by the Coronavirus Resource Center at Johns Hopkins University as at 6 p.m. local time, just as Nigeria accounts for 69,645 of the confirmed cases. Away from COVID-19, the Ethiopian government has confirmed that soldiers shot out a United Nations team which was driving in the north of the country where the army has been fighting Tigrayan forces. Elsewhere, the UK and EU have reached agreement on how rules in the Brexit Divorce deal will be implemented, particularly in relation to Northern Ireland. The government says an agreement in principle has been found for issues including border control posts and the supply of medicines. However, negotiations to reach a post-Brexit trade deal are still ongoing. Meanwhile, an inquiry into the Christchurch massacre has found a series of failures before the 2019 attack, but concluded the tragedy was unpreventable. The inquiry was launched after white supremacist Brenton Tarrant killed 51 people at 2 mosques in March 2019. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu.
Thank you, Uche. And for some sporting stories, let's join Olumide Eguntola.
Stakeholders in Nigerian football expressed optimism that Nigeria's under-20 national team, the Flying Eagles, will pick the 3-pointer stake in our second group game against their counterparts from Ghana at the ongoing Wafu Zombi under-20 tournament on Wednesday.
You need to do is go in there and do your best.
In another development, in line with the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare's commitment to start early preparation for Team Nigeria ahead of next year's Olympic Games, the second phase of the camping exercise began on Monday in 3 centers. 14 track and field event athletes are camped in Port Harcourt, 22 para-athletes in Abuja, while 8 lifters are camped in Yenagoa. From Benin, Elizabeth Omoko reports that Edo State government has appealed to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and the National Council on Sports to consider the mood of the season and shift the National Sport Festival to March 2021 instead of the January 3rd, 2021 date approved. The Deputy Governor of the state, Philip Shaibu, while on inspection tour of facilities for the festival, noted that the current date implies that states will have to camp athletes during Christmas and New Year season. In squash, the Nigerian Squash Federation have expressed gratitude to the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development for endorsing squash as a medal-winning event at the forthcoming National Sport Festival, scheduled for Benin City next year. The Squash Federation President, Boye Oyenide, said the body is delighted that the sport has been accorded due recognition in the festival.
The doubles event, which is new. It hadn't been done at the festival before.
In volleyball, the latest ranking of the World Volleyball Governing Body, FIVB, indicates that the Nigerian male national team is now ranked 106th in the world, 13th best in Africa, while their female counterparts are now ranked 118th in the world and 16th best team in Africa. With sports update, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
And sports update with Olumide Eguntola concludes the news at this hour on NTA International. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Remember, connect with the NTA, Kick Against Rape and Rapists. I'm Elizabeth Omori.